Hello and welcome to your 20-minute Pilates workout. Today we will be standing the entire series, so whenever you're ready, either stand above a mat or just a flat surface will work. I will be using ankle weights on my wrists today just to create an extra burn for those arms, so if you have some lying around the house, feel free to grab them, and we will get started. We will start doing a couple of inchworms here. So hands come up above head, hands drive down the body, and then we walk them to the other end of the mat, finding our plank position. Then we walk those hands back to our feet, finding the body, hands come up to ceiling. We have two here, crawling those hands down, pausing in that plank, just warming up that body, bringing those hands back to feet, coming back up to sky. Last one, crawl those hands up the mat, find that plank position, and slowly bring yourself back. We are going to start with lunges here. So on your next one, let's put our hands on our hips. Our right foot will come forward and we find that lunge position, dropping that left knee to the mat, coming back up. So for those with those ankle weights on our wrists, you can bring those hands above your head if you want that little extra burn for those arms. Otherwise, we're focusing on just driving through that right heel, coming up and down, keeping that upper body completely still, just working the glutes and the legs. We are pulsing now, just going up an inch and down an inch. And then we find our scooter. We shoot that back leg forward and then draw it behind us. Keeping that bend in that right knee, keeping that burn. You got it. We're just here for a few more reps. Shooting those hands up and over the head. Last two. And last one. And then when we're ready, we are going to find our squat position. We are going to take a few squats here, and each time we come up, we're going to lift those heels for that calf raise. Dropping our hips down to the ground, lifting up those heels for that calf raise. It is optional. If you don't like to do the calf raise for the balance, feel free to just continue to squat here. Just make sure you're continuing to move with me. Dropping those hips down, coming back up. I'm shooting my hands down to the ground every time I find my calf raise and then finding them in prayer position to work out those arms along with the glutes. We're pulsing now. We're just going to pulse those hips up an inch and down an inch, keeping that focus forward. And then when we're ready, we're going to separate our legs, find them at a diagonal to the wall, and go into our sumo squat, shooting those hips back to ground again, come back up, and repeat. We're only doing a few here until we're going to lift that left heel from the ground. And the next two. And one. Lower down and find that heel lift. We're only lifting that left heel to work out that left glute just a little bit more, keeping that right heel still down on the ground. Knees aren't surpassing the feet. We pulse up an inch and down an inch. For 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower down with that right heel lifted. Left heel stays down, going up an inch and down an inch. And then getting ready for those pulses on your next one. Here we go. Pulsing up an inch and down an inch. One, lift both heels. Let's pulse this out with those hands above their heads. You got it. We're just pulsing for a few more reps and complete. Hands come up to sky. Let's take a quick stretch. We can pedal out those feet by bending one knee and then the other. Just finding. And then when you're ready, come back up to standing and find me on your other leg. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So we have the left knee out, right knee bent. We bring the right knee down to the mat. Come back up. Bringing those arms up overhead as an option, as always, to work out those arms just a little bit more. Making sure that front knee is not passing those toes. And then when we're ready, we pulse up an inch and down an inch. Getting ready to shoot right forward for our scooter, bringing that back leg into our front leg, keeping that bend in that front knee, staying nice and low. The lower you get, the harder it'll be. Shooting those hands overhead and under. You got it. Exhale and inhale. Great job. Let's come up to standing, meet knee facing the screen, and you will have the feet hip distance apart. We'll bring the hands behind our head with our elbows wide to opposite sides of the room. And we're going to bring our opposite elbow to tap the opposite knee. Twisting each side, focusing on the obliques or drawing this movement. Trying to connect that knee to that elbow each time. Using that balance. I know sometimes it gets a little tricky here, so really try and plant that opposite foot down. We're now finding our squat, and we're going to dip the elbows down to each knee, just twisting through those obliques. So right crunch, then left crunch. You got it. Exhale as you lower. Let's drop that hand and pulse on just that left side. Pulsing up an inch and down an inch. You got it. And let's go on to the right. Drop that hand. Pulse up an inch and down an inch. Sitting nice and low in that squat. Come up to standing. Take that stretch. Catch your breath here. And when we're ready, we are going to go into arms. So you're going to have a slight bend in your knees. You can have them hip distance apart. We're going to start with prayer hands above our forehead and then opening up to goalpost. Just doing the same movement here. You want to make sure those shoulders are sitting in their socket, so maybe press them down a little bit lower so they're not hanging up by your ears. You're keeping that core in nice and tight and just focusing on just the arms here. On your next one, let's lift those arms to ceiling and lower back to goalpost. Reaching up above, lower back down. You got it. Exhale, reach. Inhale, lower. Keep those shoulders down. And then we'll switch back to what we did at the beginning, where we close and open. Close and open. Finding that goalpost, finding that prayer hand. And then we're going to connect into that prayer hand in our next one. Pulse those prayer hands up to ceiling and lower. You got it. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. We're almost there. Let's open up those arms and do some arm circles in one direction. You decide. You got it. I know the arms are burning. Don't drop them. Keep doing those circles as I'm high-fiving my tree. You got it. Last exercise, up and over. It's just scooping up and over, finding that bend in those arms. You got it. Feeling those shoulders, feeling those biceps. You are so strong. We will take a break in the next 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Great job. That rest. You're going to cross one hand across the chest. Attach the other one up and over. Feel that stretch of those shoulders. Cross the opposite arm. Reach over. And when you're ready, you are going to meet me facing the same side of the mat with the right knee forward to start this series over again with some tweaks. So that right knee is forward. We find that lunge position. We come back up to standing. Continuing reps here. Exhaling every time we come up. Shoot those hands up and over the head if you would like that option. This is the last time we will do it on this leg. And on your next one, let's get prepped for our pulses. Up an inch and down an inch. Keeping those hips stacked right above that bottom knee. And we'll switch to our scooter, swooping those hands up and over. Bringing that knee to match the other one while we keep our bend in our right knee. Sitting nice and low for 2 and 1. Great job. Find me standing back into your squat position, lowering down, finding that squat. Lifting up those heels is that option for that calf raise. Keeping those hands in prayer position, pressing those palms together to engage that core. You got it. Let's lift that left heel. We're finding those squats with that heel lifted in just a narrow stance squat, working out that left glute. Keeping that right foot down and pulse up an inch and down an inch. And then we're going to bring that knee out to the side and back in, going in for some half clams here, really burning out that side of that glute. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, just regular squats with the right heel lifted. Exhale, shooting all the way up. Inhale, lower back. And we pulse up an inch and down an inch, keeping that heel lifted. And then those half clams, opening and closing. Burning that right glute for 2 and 1. Come up, take a big stretch down to your toes. Maybe walk over to the right side and then over to the left side. Just taking that stretch before we go into our sumo squat with our obliques. So those feet are tilted out to the diagonals of the room. We find that squat. We dip to the left, then the right. Exhale, lower that elbow down. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lower. Inhale, come back up. You got it. Maybe sit a little bit lower. Reach that hand, driving to that left foot. You got it. Using that left oblique, and we work that right side, finding that right rib to hip connection, shooting down to that ground. Great job. Take that stretch down to those toes again. Maybe shift from one side and the other to loosen up those hips. Come back up to standing. And then when we're ready, we'll go into just regular sumo squats, just lowering all the way down. Come back up, incorporating those plie hands, lowering them down, shooting back up. Using control here, separating those feet on the ground to opposite corners of the room. And then when we're ready, we'll get ready for our pulses. Up an inch and down an inch. You got it. Lift up those hands, lift up those heels. Final set of pulses here. You got it. Feel that burn for 3, 2, and 1. Take that stretch. And then when you're ready, we'll come back up to standing and we'll do the same thing with the other side. So we're going to work that left leg forward, right knee bent. Bringing down that right knee to touch the ground. Come back up to standing. And repeat. Inhale, lower. Exhale, stand. And then on our next one, let's find those pulses. We will go up an inch and down an inch. Keep those hands to the ceiling and scooter. Drop hands to hips. Float back up to diagonal. Driving that right leg back and forth to meet that bent knee. Maybe sit a little bit lower in that standing leg. Last part of the series on this leg. You got it. And done. Meet me facing forward and we'll finish off with those oblique twists. Feet are hip distance apart. We're finding that twist of that opposite elbow to opposite knee. Thinking about driving that rib cage down to that opposite hip bone. Squeezing that core into the center line of the body. Exhale, twist. Inhale, center. Great job. Shake it off. We are ready for our final part of the series. We are going into the arms. We're going to do them twice. We're going to start with this goalpost of prayer, opening up those arms, closing them back together. Exhale, open. Inhale, close. Keeping the shoulders away from those ears. You got it. Keep that slight bend in those knees as we lift those arms up to ceiling, lower back down to goalpost. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. You got it. Try and get those shoulder blades to touch in the center of the back every time you lower those hands. And close. Opening and closing again. You got it. You know the movements. Try and keep those arms lifted the whole time. We're doing this 2 times. Finish off with those pulses. Up an inch and down an inch. Keeping those elbows in tight in front of the chest. And open up those arms to either side of you. Let's go into those circles. You decide which direction first. Just keep those long arms nice and long in line with the shoulders. And reverse. You got it. Over and unders, grabbing the air, up and down, finding that bend in those elbows. Staying nice and strong. Let's take a quick stretch and we do that one more time. You got it. Stretching on the other arm. And then when we're ready, you'll meet me in those prayer hands in line in front of our chest. Elbows together. Opening to goalpost, closing. Exhale, open. Inhale, close. And lift and lower. Keep thinking about squeezing those shoulder blades every time you lower those elbows down. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. And last time doing these prayer to goalposts. You got it. Keep those arms up. We're almost finished with class. I know your arms are burning. I know mine were. And prayer pulses. Pulse those fingers up to the ceiling. Keep those elbows nice and tight in front of that chest. And straighten those arms. Pick that direction. Go in those tiny circles. We're almost at the finish line. You got it. Let's reverse. Keep those arms nice and long. And under overs. You got it. Last part. Keep those shoulders away from those ears. And done. Shoot those arms up to sky. Open up your legs. Shift to the left. Open up that side body. Come back to center. Shift to the right. Let's stretch over to one side, looking up to the ceiling, to that hand in the sky. And we'll come over to the other side, doing the same thing as before. We'll take one final stretch up to the ceiling and down to our toes. Maybe pedal out one foot and then the other. And great job. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you in your next workout.